Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Hey folks, today is Friday, November 14th, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Today is my 57th birthday. It's a jam-packed show. I'm here in Bermuda. We're going to be hearing from the premier of Bermuda, E. David Burt, talking about their goal, their efforts to want to attract African Americans to Bermuda for tourism. Also, we'll hear from PGA Tour Pro Chase Johnson, who I caught up with here at the tournament as well. Folks, lots more to talk about. Megyn Kelly, what the hell is she talking about when it comes to people having sex with girls under 18, saying that's different than a 5-year-old child? What the hell is she talking about? There's a new prosecutor in Georgia in the election interference case in dealing with Donald Trump and his cohorts. We'll tell you about that. Also, on today's show, guess who's admitting defeat with his tariffs? Donald Trump issued an executive order lowering the prices of groceries. I told y'all that fool was lying. Why do I have to now, for the second time in a week, call out a black person in media for spewing bullshit on the air? This time, again, it's Stephen A. Smith. Yes. Oh, my God. All dealing with Jeffrey Epstein. In Florida, free speech is under attack after a black school board member gets blasted for sharing her thoughts on white supremacist Charlie Kirk. A Baltimore cop facing a stack of charges, including second-degree attempted murder after the shocking video shows him chasing a black man with a police cruiser. We've got the details. Also, MAGA's really upset because U.S. Catholic bishops condemns Donald Trump's attacks on immigration. Ain't this something? They don't mind it when the Catholics talk about abortion, but now they got a problem on this issue. Okay. It's lots to break down. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the piss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling.
After Fulton County State's Attorney, District Attorney Fannie Willis was removed from the case in Georgia, the election interference case, Republicans dragged their feet over naming a prosecutor. The deadline was approaching. Well, guess what? There's now someone who's going to be doing this. That's right. The leader of the Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia, Peter Skandalakis, is going to be taking over the case. His organization was unable to find another prosecutor, and he chose to lead the prosecution due to his familiarity with some of the immense deep case of files. And remember, Fannie Willis filed against Donald Trump, indicted Donald Trump and 18 others in August of 2023 using Georgia's anti-racketeering laws, saying they were involved in a scheme to overturn the results in the state. Now, we also know what happened with the whole deal with the boyfriend. Trump countered it with the court. It was all kind of drama all the way to the Georgia Supreme Court. But it's now, that whole mess is now dealt with. Now they have a prosecutor. Now this case is going to move forward. And now, hopefully, we can see some justice prevail against this thug, this twice-impeached, criminally convicted con man in chief, Donald Trump. My panel, Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi, Waikuni Siant, CEO and co-founder of Politicking, DC, Michael Imhotep, host, African History Network show. And I'm sure Matt is just enjoying me rocking this 12th man jersey of the number 3 ranked team in the country. And it's not his little school in Austin. All right, let's get to it. Thank goodness this is going to move forward. Michael, a lot of folk were scared. Actually, I'm sorry, Matt, my bad. Sorry, Matt. A lot of folks were scared that these folks in Georgia were going to allow the deadline to expire and let Trump get off. Now we have a prosecutor, and now he can be held into account. Just your thoughts on this decision.
Well, I think this decision really is about as ugly as that jersey you have on, Roland, because I think it's much ado about nothing. Reading the article, I was really dismayed because the reason he appointed himself is because he couldn't get anybody else to take the case. I suspect what's going to happen is that he's going to find a way to tank this case and say that he looked at it and he's, relying on the immunity decision or some other reason, and is going to say that this is an unsupportable case. I don't want to be a pessimist, but I don't really think there's anything looming positively down the road in terms of this case being prosecuted, because he's basically got backed into having to prosecute this case. And I think that is not going to bear well for the prosecution of the case, particularly because it was already one that was kind of a sprawling, difficult case in terms of the application and the nuance. This is not the normal application of a RICO case. So I think what's going to happen is they're going to find a way to dump the case, and they're going to say that Fani Willis, messed it up from the beginning, and they're going to try to scapegoat her, and nothing's going to happen to Donald Trump.
Now, what we do have is that Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee has dropped 3 charges out of the dozens in the case. Today, I'm reading this story here from CBS Atlanta. On Friday, McAfee ordered that counts 14, 15, and 27, conspiracy and criminal attempt to file false documents and filing false documents, respectively, should be dismissed. Trump had been charged with 2 of the counts, 15 and 27. McAfee had signaled in September 2024 that he wanted to remove the charges, arguing that they lie beyond the state's jurisdiction. He was not able to officially drop the charges until the case was remanded to him, which did not happen until Fulton County DA Fani Willis' disqualification was finalized in the Georgia courts. The judge had previously quashed 6 counts in the indictment, including 3 against Mr. Trump in March 2024. Even with the counts removed, 32 remain, including an overarching racketeering charge brought against the remaining 15 defendants. Winconi? I think you're muted.
Thanks, Roland. Happy birthday, by the way. I agree with what Matt.
I appreciate it.
I think, absolutely. I think the most exciting part of this case was that it was the most likely of all the various criminal charges surrounding Trump to go to trial, because it was actually going to be a state case handled by a local Georgia prosecutor. But we see in this case of get somebody else to do it, with him actually stepping up to do it, it doesn't seem very likely that it's going to actually be prosecuted and going to trial. And if we look at the federal cases, we see that they're often, pardoned. So with the immunity standing there and the fact that he's taken on this case begrudgingly, I don't think that's likely to actually go to trial.
Michael?
Yeah, also happy birthday, Roland. And you're okay for an alpha. So when we look at this...
of course.
Yeah. When we look at this, I don't expect... First of all, we know that Supreme Court ruled that Donald Trump has basically broad immunity. So there are 14 other defendants that still face charges in this case. But when it comes to him, I don't expect charges to be pursued in this. We'll see what happens with the co-defendants. We'll see how this plays out. But with this being Georgia as well, and with this playing out the way it did, Fani Willis being removed, and them not being able to find anybody else to prosecute this case, I don't have high hopes for this. But we'll see what happens. But I'm not expecting real prosecutions to come for this. We do know that I think it was 4 of the defendants had already pled guilty. 4 of the 19 defendants, including 3 attorneys directly involved in Trump's bid, they did accept plea deals. But I'm not expecting much to come from this.
All right. Well, we have that. All right. We surely appreciate it. Let's do this here. Got to go to a break. We come back. Lots to talk about. Trump admitting defeat with this stupid tariffs, how it is destroying the economy. And now, guess what? He's like, we got some fixes to make. Also, the release of the Epstein files is leading to lots of drama. A lot of folks talking about it, including Stephen A. Smith, who goes on this rant attacking President Joe Biden, attacking Democrats, but he got his facts wrong. Again. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's a time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
This is Eric Dickerson, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Last 48 hours, a lot of stuff being talked about in Washington, D.C. as a result of these emails from Jeffrey Epstein being released. Donald Trump is losing his mind. He's cussing everybody out. He's mad, upset. Now he's talking about unleashing the Department of Justice against Bill Clinton and every single Democrat. He is absolutely losing his mind. Somebody else who has lost their mind over this stuff is Stephen A. Smith. On his Sirius XM radio show, he went on this loud rant. If you didn't see it or you didn't hear it, check this out.
I have no problem with the Epstein files being exposed. I think anybody who's done what Jeffrey Epstein did should be thrown under the damn jail. They should spend the rest of their natural-born life in prison if he was alive to do it. Young girls being sexually molested is as disgusting as it gets. It is as vile as it gets. We ain't making any excuses for anybody like that. What a despicable, despicable human being. There's a special place in hell for people like that. But that's not what anybody can definitively associate the president with. He knew Epstein, so did Bill Clinton. So did a plethora of other famous people inside and outside the world of politics. Incriminating emails, well, what specifically and how significant was it? And when we sit up there as Democrats and we're applauding on the House floor, now that Alita Grijalva was there talking about she'll be the final vote to sit up there and open the Epstein files, and everybody's applauding for the Democratic Party. Ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind that the Epstein files were in existence and free to have been opened during the Biden administration. You were there for 4 years. How come you didn't open it as a Democratic Party then? What am I missing? I'm not saying I know. It's a legitimate question. Maybe I don't remember the answer. Maybe my extraordinary producers should be able to help me during the commercial break. But from my understanding, the same files that were open or being open now with the 220 pages of documents or whatever it is, with various emails, that could have been done when Biden was in office. Well, why didn't you do it? If it's so important now. What were the Democrats doing at that particular moment in time? See, this is the kind of stuff that smells. Because my attitude is just deducing how much they despise Trump is if there was some real bona fide dirt on him, since you went after him with the 34 felony convictions, which essentially was deduced to him paying hush money to Stormy Daniels, a porn star, So she wouldn't reveal their happenings with one another leading up to the election in 2016. Okay? If you had something like that you were willing.
Okay. Stephen A. says, maybe I'm missing something. You are. Then he says he's an extraordinary producer. And maybe they could research it. Yeah. How about you do the damn research before you go on the air on an epic rant, Stephen A? Like, I don't understand why black people or other folks with shows don't know how to do research before they open their mouths. What you just heard is misinformation and disinformation. Do you know who corrected Stephen A? Somebody named Julie K. Brown. Julie K. Brown is a reporter for the Miami Herald. It has been the Miami Herald that has done amazing reporting on the Epstein case. We know about all the details of what's happened with Jeffrey Epstein, the previous deal being cut, the sweetheart jail deal he got because of Julie Brown and the reporters of the Miami Herald. This is what she tweeted. This is a complicated case with a, quote, all caps, a lot of files. So I know it's easy to confuse what's what. What Stephen doesn't understand is that the emails released Wednesday are from Epstein's estate. They were obtained from Epstein's lawyers pursuant to a subpoena that was issued by the House Oversight Committee, lawmakers. These documents are separate from the criminal case files held by the DOJ and the FBI that Trump and Bondi, the Attorney General, promised to release after the election. As for why Biden and the Democrats didn't release the criminal case files, Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, the associate of Jeffrey Epstein, Maxwell's criminal case was still open during the Biden administration. She wasn't convicted until late 2021, and then she appealed her conviction. Generally, it's not a good idea to open your evidence files when a criminal case is ongoing. We also don't know whether the FBI was still investigating other possible suspects who helped Epstein or participated in his crimes. If you are still targeting suspects, you don't want them to know you are zeroing in on them. This is what I keep trying to tell these people who are in media. When you have a mega microphone, you need to be judicious with how you use it. You need to be careful with what you say and how you say it, and you need to have your facts right. So when people are then listening to you, they're taking cues from you. And so all of a sudden, folks are going, oh my God, what the hell were Biden and the Democrats doing? They couldn't release them because they didn't have them. And so Stephen A. is broadcasting on Sirius XM radio all around the country. And people are taking his clip and they're reposting it on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Snapchat, on Fanbase, on Spoutable, Spill, LinkedIn, everywhere. And he's wrong. And see, this is what I cannot stand. I cannot stand when a journalist or a media personality says, I'm just asking a question. I'm just giving my opinion. What the hell are you talking about? I get asking questions. So here's how it worked. Stephen A., you and your producing team, you book experts like a Julie Brown. And in fact, it would be smart for y'all to book her on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday. What you do is you ask the experts the question. You say, Julie, you're a reporter with the Miami Herald. You've been covering this story for years. Can you explain to me why these files were released now and not when Biden was president? That's how you ask a question. But Stephen A. didn't ask a question. Stephen A. asked a question and then gave his answer to the question, but before doing so, admitting he didn't actually know the answer. Do y'all know how dangerous that is? That's the equivalent. That's the equivalent of going off on a player for not suiting up. And then you find out later, oh, he was injured. Did you check and call before you attacked the player for being injured? This is what I'm talking about, Michael, and I'm sick of this. I'm sick of people not dealing in facts, not checking first before they go off and say things that then get repeated. And as we know, the lie travels faster than the truth. This is just idiotic to literally say, I don't know. I could have my smart producer check, but let me just rip the folks anyway.
Yeah, Roland, it is unprofessional, it's irresponsible, and it's dangerous. And I'm somebody who's been in media 15 years. I've done over probably close to 2,000 episodes of the African History Network show. I do all the research for it. I book guests, book experts in the areas that we're talking about. And I said before on this show, if Shut Up and Dribble were a person, it would be Stephen A. Smith. I think the A stands for asinine. He has absolutely no clue what he's talking about. And he just gets up here and just spews his nonsense. But if he just Googled, have the Democrats requested the Epstein files, you see the piece from PolitiFact from Debbie Wasserman Schultz, U.S. House of Representatives page, and it goes through and breaks down this timeline, and it talks about how Democratic lawmakers began to seek records about Epstein after the Miami Herald's late 2018 investigation into the case. And it goes through and breaks this down. It talks about different people, whether it's U.S. Representative Elijah Cummings, Senator Tim Kaine. It talks about Democratic efforts and also calling for an investigation into the plea deal that Alex Acosta did for Jeffrey Epstein. Okay. And lastly, it's important to also note that she was prosecuted by the Biden administration, Ghislaine Maxwell, 2021, Biden administration prosecution, and sentenced in June 2022. That's on the Justice Department's website right now. Now, that's just me doing a Google search. I don't have nobody working for me. So Stephen A. Smith is full of shit.
I don't, when Coney, I'm just, here's a perfect example, when Coney, if you want to say, Democrats, why are you now making such a big deal out of the Epstein files? Okay, fine. You give that commentary, give that rant, whatever. If you want to say, hey, the people who also are really pushing this Epstein stuff is the hard right. Now, if you want to criticize them, okay, go right ahead. But what I don't understand is how you literally admit that you don't know the facts, and then you then choose to opine on what happened not knowing the facts. Here's the deal. I don't know all the ins and outs of the Jeffrey Epstein story. But what I do know is that I follow Julie K. Brown. And what I do know, Win Cooney, is that she follows me. And I have been following her Twitter feed for quite some time. And I get the facts from her. And if I had a question regarding this case that I wasn't sure about, it's a good bet. The first thing I'm going to do is go to her feed, because she truly is the expert on this, because she's been covering from day one.
Well, that would be too intelligent for Stephen A. Smith to do, Roland. I want Black people to stop getting their political news from Stephen A. Smith. I hope that people didn't forget that 2 weeks ago, he was wrong about Jasmine Crockett, and he's wrong again. His track record has proven.
So, control room, I've lost.
Can you hear me, Roland? His track record has proven time and time again that he's made it the issue of the public to go fact check and see what he's saying is true or not true. And in this case, it's clearly not true. We already went through all the logistics on why his statements were erroneous. And then 2 weeks ago, when he spoke about his public critique of Jasmine Crockett, he was lambasted by Black media and the Black community for getting it wrong. Yet he's still not learned his lesson on how to fact check. He's still not learned his lesson on how to do basic research to ensure that what he's saying is right. And this is the issue with giving anyone with a microphone a platform. How does that continue to help the Black people that Stephen A. Smith has continued to posture himself as helping by miseducating them? Continuing to miseducate Black people is an issue. Not only that, but in this salacious rant, he makes it a party issue. I think anybody on this platform can agree that this is not a party issue. It's not about Democrats and Republicans. This issue is an issue about, something salacious like a sex crime involving minors, and everybody involved needs to be held accountable for it by, again, making it a Republican Democratic issue and saying, why didn't the Democrats unseal the files sooner? Why wasn't this done? Why wasn't that done? And pointing it to the Democrats. Oftentimes I ask myself, is Stephen A. Smith being paid by the Republican Party? Because he's doing a fantastic job of following the footsteps of President Trump in terms of miseducation. So we really have to see that stop. And if Stephen A. Smith is going to continue to posture himself as a champion of Black people, he needs to start by getting the facts right.
So, my opinion on it is I think when Cooney's right, I didn't get a chance to hear everything she was saying. But, one of the things I think is kind of lost in this conversation in two respects is, first, when you're somebody like Stephen A. Smith and you have the kind of following that you do, you act in a fiduciary capacity, meaning when people are listening to you, there's an element of trust, right? They need to be able to trust that what you're saying, especially when you're speaking on a topic du jour as major as the Epstein files and the release of that information, and whether the sitting president was involved in sex trafficking or involved in the abuse of minors, then you need to be, judicious, to use your word, and smart about making sure you're not spreading misinformation. But the larger overarching thing for me is the premise of his comments was that he was implying, right, that this is like politically motivated, or they didn't do this under Biden and now they're doing it under Trump. Look, when somebody gets elected president, they talk about whether they're going to release their tax returns and all this other information that's relatively arcane about that person's life. You mean to tell me it's a surprise or it's somehow immediately nefarious that the world and the country would want to know if he was involved in the sexual abuse of minors? Of course, you absolutely need to know that. And we live in a per se bizarro world where the president can even have this kind of relationship with a person like Epstein and not immediately be excoriated and run out of the White House. That alone is, I think, a proof positive sign of where our society is these days. But for Stephen A. Smith to imply that people should just, immediately read into that somehow there's something nefarious going on is stupid, because Trump's been trying to hide this information. We know the Republicans have been trying to hide it. And part of it is because if you're that close to somebody, then there's a good chance you saw and or participated in things, and the American people absolutely need to know that about their sitting president. So none of that surprises me, and I think he's got a fiduciary duty to be better about the information or misinformation that he's putting out.
Thanks for that analysis, Matt. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. The United States is the most dangerous place for a woman to give birth among all industrialized nations on the planet. Think about that for a second. That's not all. Black women are 3 times more likely to die in this country during childbirth than white women.
These healthcare systems are inherently racist. There are a lot of white supremacist ideas and mythologies around black women, black women's bodies, even black people that we experience painless, right?
Activist, organizer, and fearless freedom fighter Monifa Akinwole Bandele from Moms Rising joins us and tells us this shocking phenomenon, like so much else, is rooted in unadulterated racism. And that's just one of her fights. Monifa Bandele on the next Black Table here on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's a time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
Hey, I'm Malcolm Lee, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
A Baltimore police officer is indicted on multiple charges, including second-degree attempted murder, after being caught on video chasing a black man with a police cruiser. Officer Robert A. Parks is also charged with first- and second-degree assault, reckless driving, and misconduct in office. The charges stem from an October 28th incident where Parks is captured on video by social media user Slick Brown trying to run over a civilian. According to the indictment, Parks tried to disperse a gathering of people on a sidewalk. He attempted to get a man to go towards him, but the unidentified man refused. Parks threatened to call the dogs on the man. The man began walking away from Parks. Parks then radioed that he had, quote, one running adult male in the alley, end quote. This is what happened next.
All right.
Yeah, what's your reason to stop him? You ain't even got no reason to stopping him, bro. Hey, yo, walk off, Trey. You hit the alley, yo. Go ahead, Trey, walk off, yo. He beating. You ain't even got no reason to stop him. Hey, yo, what the fuck? You gonna hit him with the car? Yo, what the fuck, bro? Yo, hell no, yo. Hey, yo. Come back this way, yo. Yo, beating, bro. That's his dumb ass. Fucking dummy. Dumb ass, you dumb as shit. You dumb as shit. You crashing and all that. You really crashing out, bro. Go ahead, dumbass. Really crashing out, bro. You press his car and all that, bro. Don't really try to hit my man, bro. What the fuck? Don't really try to hit, bro, with the car and all that. Oh, hell no.
Here is Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates explaining the decision to indict Parks.
The charges brought forward in this indictment reflect the seriousness and dangerous nature of the actions we all witnessed in the viral video of Officer Parks driving his vehicle directly at a civilian while on duty. These are the exact charges we would bring forward for anyone operating a vehicle in that manner, whether you're police or whether you're civilian. When a police officer threatens the safety of those who are sworn to protect, it erodes the crucial trust between the community and law enforcement that is critical to the historic reductions in violent crime in our city and essential to keeping Baltimore safe.
Parks has been with the Baltimore Police Department since 2020 and turned himself into the authorities on Wednesday morning. If convicted, Parks faces a maximum sentence of 65 years in prison. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. We'll be back in a few minutes.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Book bans, anti-intellectualism, and Trump's continued war on wisdom.
This is a coordinated backlash to progress. At the end of the day, conservatives realized that they couldn't win a debate on facts. They started using our language against us, right? Remember when we were all woke and the woke movement and all that kind of stuff? Now everything is anti-woke, right? When we were talking about including diversity, equity, inclusion, higher education, now it's anti-DEI. All this are efforts to suppress the truth because truth empowers people.
You're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
Hey, I'm Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League, and I'm watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Michael Imhotep sitting in for Roland. I want to go to our panel for this discussion. I want to start with you, Matt. You are an attorney and also a defense attorney. What are your thoughts on this case?
So I saw this case on social media, I guess, a week or two ago, and I was just baffled because, this is first great citizen, recording. I mean, obviously we see videos all the time now, but this was good that this brother recorded it the way that he did. And when I saw this video, I was baffled that a police officer would not only do this kind of thing. I mean, of course, there are times that they're assaultive. We talk about it all the time on this show. But this brazenly, broad daylight, after clearly having some kind of tense interaction with these brothers, and then you go and try to hit them. I mean, honestly, when I looked at this, this is one of the few times I think that the attempted murder charge might actually stick. I think what will happen, I think we've talked about it on the show, but when you're prosecuting a case, I don't know how it is in Maryland, but in Texas, a prosecutor always gets what's called a lesser included offense. So that means if they're prosecuting you for murder and they want the jury to be instructed on another charge like deadly conduct or manslaughter, depending on how the law works in that state, the prosecutor automatically gets it. Defense can get it if they have evidence. But I tell you that to say here that if the prosecutors ask for a lesser included and the jury seems, the evidence comes out like the jury might be on the fence about whether he really premeditatedly intended to kill him, every day of the week, I think he's cooked and convicted on deadly conduct or some kind of manslaughter, attempted manslaughter, reckless type charge. Because what's very clear here is he's trying to hit this guy with the car. The struggle will be the intent and whether he intended to kill him. Because I read the Maryland statute and it doesn't really read like you're doing an act that's clearly dangerous to human life, the way sometimes states write their laws. Here, it's a premeditated intent to kill. I think that may be a little bit of a difficult issue for the jury. But I think this guy is dead to rights. If I were defending him, I would be trying to get a plea deal because there is absolutely no question about what happened. There's no question about the operation of the vehicle, no question about his intent to try to hit him because after he misses him the first time, he keeps chasing him. So I think that it's good that they're prosecuting this case. And, the brother said it perfectly. He said, man, you are literally crashing out. Like, I've never seen anything like this. And I've watched thousands of police videos. And I'm not surprised that they charged him with this. And I wouldn't also be surprised if the feds came in and prosecuted this because this is just, you got to lay the hammer down on someone like this. So he's going to get a lot of time.
Okay. Now, Cooney, what are your thoughts on this case here? It's very disturbing to see this video, even though we are thankful to social media user Slick Brown for capturing the video.
Yeah, the video is damning. I'm so thankful, as Matt said, for the technology that we have accessible nowadays, because we know as Black people that this has been happening for years and years and years. And so oftentimes, even though it's the first time we're seeing it caught on camera, we know that it's not the first time that this has happened, certainly not in Baltimore history. What I wanted to focus on is the fact that in these cases, what infuriates me the most is that the officer is simply suspended without pay. Obviously, we know it's going to go to trial, and as Matt said, he's probably cooked. But another important thing to note is that they won't be able to call him as a witness at all right now. So any cases that involve him or require his testimony for conviction will be dismissed. And so that's actually not ideal, right, for the carriage of justice. But it's something that's very, very fair considering the fact that he's obviously shown himself not to be a reliable source. But the other question that I wanted to address is why isn't a person like this immediately fired, right? They're being charged with attempted murder, and they're still just suspended without pay. And really what it boils down to, gentlemen, is how police contracts work to protect their own. Police contracts, like labor contracts, they govern the working conditions under which officers operate. And effectively, they've rendered police departments' disciplinary and oversight processes ineffective, as officers are rarely held accountable for wrongdoing. Now, in this case, it's very cut and clear. And as Matt said, if I was defending him, I would be trying to get a plea deal or maybe trying to decrease what the murder charge is. But I don't think it's any possible way that he won't be convicted. But the problem with the police system as is that while he is on trial for this, he's still just suspended without pay. He's not immediately fired. And with cases that are this cut and dry, I feel like we do need to make an example of these police officers, these bad cops that are continuing to increase friction between inner cities, urban communities, and the police forces that be.
Now, Matt, I had a quick question for you. In the story, it said that he attempted to get a man to go towards him, referring to Parks, but the man refused. An unidentified man refused. Parks threatened to call the dogs on the man. So when you hear that a officer threatened to call the dogs on a subject, what goes through your mind? How does that add towards any of the charges that are filed against an officer?
I think it goes to premeditation and intent, clearly, right? Because if the person has refused his order and he's angry, which we clearly see in the first part of this clip, then it's not easy for a jury to infer that that anger led to premeditation. I don't know how the law works in Maryland, but my understanding of premeditation, at least the way it was taught in law school and the way I've seen it in practice, is that you can premeditate something in a split second, right? So it's not implausible for this jury to say he was mad that the person didn't respond to his orders. Clearly, whatever happened that preceded this, got him angry. And then obviously he tried to hit a person who was a pedestrian who was on foot with his car. I am a defense lawyer, so I always think of ways that doubt might creep in, right? But this also might be the case where I'm wrong. This might be the case where the jury has no problem whatsoever with attempted murder. They say, we think you formed the intent to kill him, and every day of the week we're going to convict you of attempted murder. This might be that case, and that would make perfect sense to me if it happened. And the interesting thing, not only about the dog, but is about whether he responded to that order and didn't, come to the order. I have a case like that right now. And depending on where you are, the case law often says that you don't have to respond to that. So it's interesting that we're talking about this today because in my case, my guy ended up getting body slammed because he didn't want to identify himself. Texas law doesn't require him to identify himself. And I think that's important in this context. I don't know how it works in Maryland, but if that brother didn't have to identify himself and that cop got mad and all of this transpired because of that, that's another sign of the kind of abuse you see with police officers, because when they tell you to do something and you don't do it, even if you're within your rights, they get mad and sometimes they try to kill you. And this is exactly why, to go to Win Cooney's point, we absolutely need to bury this guy under the jail, because when you have this kind of power, you can't be wilding out the way this was, trying to literally hit and kill people with your car. So he's going to get a lot of time in my estimation.
Right. Now, Win Cooney, I had a last question for you. So I know because of the Black Lives Matter movement and because of the social justice movement, we've seen an emphasis on better understanding police contracts. We've heard about police officers' Bill of Rights, things of this nature, right? Now, there was also a period of time going back to about 2022, 2023, when you had a nationwide shortage of police officers as well. Okay, and various police departments were asking for more and more officers. Do you think that we need more officers who want to be the type of officers that the social justice movement said they wanted to see? Those that only use lethal force when you've exhausted all other methods, those that see people as needing to be protected as opposed to being policed, things like that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point, Michael. We do need more police officers that are good cops, so to speak. But I think this really goes pragmatically back to the defund the police movement. This is why a lot of people believe that we need to defund the police, right? When you see examples of over excessive usage of force, like you saw in the video. And to piggyback off of what Matt's point is, I wanted to take a different perspective. When I hear someone say they're going to call the dogs, I think of 1963, Birmingham, Alabama, right? I think of civil rights sit-ins when dogs were called in to rip Black people apart. I think of 2014 Ferguson, when dogs again were used to forcibly disperse civil rights protesters. And so when we continue to see overusage of excessive force, it doesn't make people excited to sign up to become police officers, particularly within these areas that police officer constituent relations are already extremely contentious. So I think this is where we get the two camps, right? We get the camps that are advocating for better cops that are utilizing their powers for good, that are building relationships and bridges within the communities. And then we have the other camp that says, hey, we need to defund the police. We need to lean on community policing more. We need to lean harder on mental health resources for Black and brown people. The fact of the matter is this gentleman only had a misdemeanor warrant. I don't want to say only. Yes, he had an outstanding warrant, but it was for a misdemeanor. No person, whether it was a misdemeanor or a felony, deserves to get ran down on. And I do literally mean ran down on the way that this gentleman was, and was at fear for losing their life. And not only him, I also think about what the perspective and psyche of the person who was recording this was. This is an extremely traumatic situation, and I would have been fearing for the retaliation of the cop as well once he noticed that I was recording, right? So this not only affects the person that was being, apprehended, but also the community at large. And this is how Baltimore PD is treating our community, right? This is what they're going to take away from. And that makes them not want to, send their kids out into the streets for after school programs. That makes them not want to allow, their students to go down the street and play or go to the ice cream truck. It has so many implications on these communities. And I'm really, really saddened that this is the way things are going and continue to go in 2025.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Roland Martin Unfiltered will be right back after this break. You're watching the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, are you looking for clarity on your believer's journey? Are you finding it difficult to really find your lane and stay in your place? Do you think that you have what it takes to build a sense of community even in these difficult times, knowing that God has got your back? Well, this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking about just those things.
I have the courage to walk through this tough season because they're going to come. You need the friends that have a belief system like yours.
A believer's journey this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie on Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change.
Book bans, anti-intellectualism, and Trump's continued war on wisdom.
This is a coordinated backlash to progress. At the end of the day, conservatives realized that they couldn't win a debate on facts. They started using our language against us, right? Remember when we were all woke and the woke movement and all that kind of stuff? Now everything is anti-woke, right? When we were talking about including diversity, equity, inclusion in higher education, now it's anti-DEI. All this are efforts to suppress the truth because truth empowers people.
Watching the other side of change only on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Book bans, anti-intellectualism, and Trump's continued war on wisdom.
This is a coordinated backlash to progress. At the end of the day, conservatives realized that they couldn't win a debate on facts. They started using our language against us, right? You remember when we were all woke and the woke movement and all that kind of stuff? Now everything is anti-woke, right? When we were talking about including diversity, equity, inclusion, higher education, now it's anti-DEI. All this are efforts to suppress the truth because truth empowers people.
You're watching The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
Hey, I'm Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League, and I'm watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Charlotte, North Carolina is the latest city preparing for the Trump administration's immigration enforcement actions. Local officials report that federal immigration agents could start arriving as early as this weekend. However, specific details regarding the operation, including the number of agents and their exact plans, have not been communicated. Mecklenburg County Sheriff Gary McFadden has stated that his office will not participate in the operation, and Mayor Vi Lyles is urging the community to remain calm, emphasizing that local police are not involved in these efforts. Currently, Charlotte is on high alert, with the community calling for transparency, safety, and protection for all residents. Patrols are set to begin in New Orleans, with plans to deploy as many as 200 Customs and Border Protection agents in the coming weeks. I want to go to the panel with this, and I'll start with you, Winkuni. So what are your thoughts on this? This is the latest city under siege by the Trump administration, saying they want to crack down on crime, using immigration, undocumented immigrants as a pretext for a way in, to send customs and border agents, et cetera, ignoring the statistics showing that crime is declining in the various cities that they're going into. What are your thoughts on this?
You know, it's extremely upsetting, Michael, because, you know, I'm the child of two immigrants myself. I'm a Haitian American, and so this is something that disproportionately affects my community. But what we've seen President Trump do again and again is defend sending the military and immigration agents into these Democratic-run cities, Los Angeles, Chicago, even our very own nation's capital. And he continues to say that the reason for this is to fight crime. But like you said, that's not a correlation that's been proven. But we also have to think about what is the precedent that he's trying to set long term with this politically. I think that by sending these ICE agents into blue cities, he's trying to send a message out to the constituents of that actual state. And what we see here is that Charlotte is a Democratic stronghold right now. And the state's going to have one of the most hotly contested U.S. Senate races in the country next year. So I think President Trump is paying special attention to North Carolina.
All right. So, Matt, when we look at crime statistics in Charlotte, and MSNBC talked about this today, violent crimes, we see violent crimes are down in 2025 compared to 2024. They're down by approximately 1,000. Homicides, 62 in 2025 compared to 82 in 2024. Aggravated assaults 3,494 in 2025 compared to 4,311 in 2024. So we see a downward trend. What are your thoughts when we see this continued effort from the Trump administration to disregard crime statistics, but also to cut the grants that were going towards community violence intervention groups that were helping bring down those crimes?
Well, we've talked about it on the show many times, and many times it's you opining astutely on this. But what it comes down to is the base does not care about reality. They care about the rhetoric, which is why you can get on TV and beat that drum, till you're blue in the face, that crime is running rampant and all these things. And the statistics, including statistics from your own FBI, say demonstrably that's not true. But you continue saying that because you want to continue creating the furor that allows you to be the Führer and bring in the goose steppers, right, to these Democratic-controlled cities. That's all it is. I mean, I heard this on NPR this morning, and it was reported that neither the sheriff there in Mecklenburg County nor the local police had any idea what was going on. And what's crazy about that is, the idea that federal law enforcement would come in and not work with local law enforcement. Of course, there are times that they're distinct, but they also work together in task forces and things all the time. But to Cooney's point, I think when you're trying to make a political point about not only democratic cities being these bad places, but moreover, you having, an overriding authority, whether that's through a show of force or just brazenly saying it, you go into these places and you do these asinine, procedures, right, just to show a show of force. So this to me is stupid, and it's dumb that local law enforcement didn't know anything about it. And I think part of it is them licking their wounds because the judges ruled against them in Chicago and other places. But it's pointless, and it's purely to make a political point, I think, particularly where the actual evidence shows that it's not necessary.
Okay, thank you, Matt. A free speech battle is brewing in Florida between the state's Board of Education and the Alachua County School Board, all because of a Facebook post. It started after School Board Vice Chair Tina Certain had some things to say about conservative Charlie Kirk in September regarding his memorial. This is the post that set off a political firestorm. Tina Certain called Kirk a, quote, 31-year-old uneducated white boy, end quote. Now, state officials are calling her comments offensive and questioning whether she should stay in leadership. The drama unfolded as all 7 state board members grilled her in a tense meeting, questioning whether she could fairly represent all students. Check this out.
I'd just like the opportunity to respond just because I know a memo that I issued in the immediate aftermath of an assassination that took place on a school campus. Whether it's Bernie Sanders or Charlie Kirk, I've said it from the beginning, that same memo would have been sent. Educators are over young, impressionable minds, and when they are making comments celebrating a school shooting, it is unacceptable. You criticize that memo. So do you encourage such acts to be expressed by teachers? I think you do, and that's why your leadership continues to be a failure. You continue to not understand the point that this state board is trying to communicate to you. You are an example for these children. You are an elected member of a school board setting policy that impacts their daily lives. And so you want to criticize me all day, you have that First Amendment right. But the reality is what I did was make sure that teachers across the state understood that this rhetoric that is impacting the wife of our lieutenant governor, where people are receiving death threats as a result of that rhetoric, needs to be toned down. Why, teachers? Because they're over children, young, impressionable minds. And that is my job as the Commissioner of Education to make sure that we reminded them of what the example was that they were, something you still struggle with. And today, these posts that you're seeing are not just about Charlie Kirk. There is a repeated pattern, as our member just identified, Layla Collins. You talk about Charlie Kirk as an uneducated white boy. You bring race into this. You talk about this post as it relates to Asian stores. where it says, in 1999, I went to the Beauty Max on Main Street, my then 4-year-old daughter. They followed us around the store. It goes on to say, as a result of that experience, to this day, I've never been back. I avoid all Asian-owned stores. How do you think those comments make that community feel? And then we go on to the next post, number 3, where it says, in the district operated by A. Green, these again are your words, they move in and then want to change things, SMH. I figured my they is white people. Again, you bring that into your posts. It's ironic that you criticize Charlie Kirk's comments and not recognize that you do, you bring race into your post. The next slide, part 4. You like a post that says, white women have always been central to building, maintaining, and protecting racial violence. They weren't the sidelines, they were the architects too. Again, what the board's point is having you recognize and appreciate the significance and the responsibility you hold as a member of a school board that makes decisions that impact children. And what is the example that you are setting for children? This is not the kind of behavior we want to see in our school system. We want to see civil discourse, respectful dialogue. I agree with you. I am a fundamental believer in the First Amendment. But what we are not going to allow happen in this school system in Florida is students be misled by adults into engaging in violent political rhetoric or calling people out because of the way God created them. We want everybody to be treated equally.
Tina Certain stands her ground, insisting her posts are constitutionally protected speech made on her own time, not related to her official duties. This drama is unfolding while Florida is embroiled in a much larger free speech battle. Teachers and school officials across the state have faced discipline, backlash, and even lawsuits over social media posts reacting to Charlie Kirk's death. I'm going to go back to the panel with this. Matt, I'm going to start with you if you don't mind. So this, y'all know how I feel about this racist Charlie Kirk. Okay, so I'm going to go to you in just a minute. And Charlie Kirk has a history of anti-black statements that he said that are documented. Okay, what are your thoughts on this nonsense coming out of former Confederate state Florida?
Man, I think it's a crock of bull. I think it's BS, and I think there are a couple things here that are particularly, big to me. The first is this sister is duly elected. So we're not talking about a teacher in a public school being excoriated by the state board. We're talking about a public servant who was voted into the office that she holds. Now, before I go on, Florida has weird laws about who the governor can take out of office and stuff. I'm not used to seeing some of the way their government works. So I don't know if they have any real, control over her being in or out of her seat. But presuming they don't, I mean, to sit there and condescend to her as though the board can actually do anything about it is probably more about that cat, or whatever his name was, Kostassos, I think it was a Greek last name, about him getting a soundbite, right, and getting to look like he's this crusader for decorum. And there's not any real end game besides using her as a whipping post. Now, in candor, I will say when you're elected, you do have to consider that what you say is obviously going to be scrutinized, and surely Ms. Certain knows that. But good for her standing on her ground. I mean, I do think that it is probably not in the best form to say things that could be racially incendiary, like in talking about the Asian businesses. I know there will be people who will disagree with me. That seems to be a little bit of an own goal, if I'm honest. But with respect to Charlie Kirk in particular, Charlie Kirk's rhetoric was vitriolic, and vitriolic about black people in particular, and all of these people who have made him a martyr are completely intellectually dishonest when they call anybody out saying anything about him. I mean, literally, Charlie Kirk was talking about people having to die in order to protect the right for guns. So it is not, intellectually dishonest to say that he died talking about something he was espousing. I mean, that's literally true based on what he said. So I think this is intellectually dishonest. I think if you are truly a free speech proponent, you can't be beating her up or mad at her for what she's saying. And then the whole thing about, all these children and all that stuff. What about the kids who are hearing what Charlie Kirk says? when they go to the classroom with a black kid and they treat that kid like he or she is less than they are because they heard it at home and dad was watching Charlie Kirk on YouTube, right? He's not worried about that. And that's because it's about rhetoric and it's ideology, and it's not really about protecting the kids. It's about, beating the drum that you think needs to be beaten. That's all this is. I think it's nonsense, and it is protected speech.
Right. Now, when Cooney, let's get get straight. Charlie Kirk is an unqualified college dropout. Okay. He is an unqualified white boy. And he did talk about prowling blacks. He was a proponent of the Great Replacement theory. He did say on January 23rd, 2024 on the Charlie Kirk show, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. He did say that George Floyd was scum. Okay. And he also did have negative things to say about Michelle Obama, Sheila Jackson Lee, Ketanji Brown Jackson when it came to affirmative action, and said, you do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You have to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. So what are your thoughts on this unqualified white male college dropout, Charlie Kirk? And also the attack on our sister Tina Certain for standing up for her rights.
A few thoughts. Number one, Tina innocent, okay? There was not one lie that Tina said in that particular Facebook quote. I agree with Matt. Some of the comments about Asian American, etc., were incendiary. But in terms of what she said about him, she was absolutely spot on. Charlie Kirk was a bigot. He was open about that. He was uneducated. He did drop out of school. And he was also able to raise millions and millions and millions of dollars in building Turning Point USA, which is one of the biggest parts of the Republican Party now, and how they actually are able to touch students on college campuses. It's a breeding ground for bigotism in this country and white supremacy, and it's absolutely something that has to be stopped. Now, as a black person, I don't celebrate the death of anyone, right? But I don't believe that that's what she was doing in that post. What she was speaking is speaking facts. And as you guys were talking about Florida, it's not a formally Confederate state. It's still very Confederate as far as I'm concerned. I was raised in South Florida. I'm a voter in Florida. And it is still an extremely racist state. And so it is really, really important that we are questioning these types of racial rhetoric, especially when they're being, pillaged in the schools by someone like Charlie Kirk. Now, I think, like Matt said, Ms. Certain may want to think a little bit more about the personal views that she's putting online as someone who is elected in office, right? But I think if we're talking about the First Amendment and we're talking about what someone's putting on Facebook, the United States and Florida particularly needs to come to a concerted agreement on what is permissible and not permissible from an elected official. We can't have someone that's sitting president in the highest office of the United States saying grab them by the pussy and then being upset when other people are stating their views. If we're talking about leading by example, we got to be really, really, really crisp on what that means and what that looks like for the next generation.
Right. Thank you. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. The United States is the most dangerous place for a woman to give birth among all industrialized nations on the planet. Think about that for a second. That's not all. Black women are 3 times more likely to die in this country during childbirth than white women.
These healthcare systems are inherently racist. There are a lot of white supremacist ideas and mythologies around black women, black women's bodies, even black people, that we experience pain less, right?
Activist, organizer, and fearless freedom fighter Monifa Akinwole Bandele from Moms Rising joins us and tells us this shocking phenomenon, like so much else, is rooted in unadulterated racism. And that's just one of her fights. Monifa Bandele on the next Black Table here on the Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Book bans, anti-intellectualism, and Trump's continued war on wisdom.
This is a coordinated backlash to progress. At the end of the day, conservatives realized that they couldn't win a debate on facts. They started using our language against us, right? Remember when we were all woke and the woke movement and all that kind of stuff? Now everything is anti-woke, right? When we were talking about including diversity, equity, inclusion, higher education, now it's anti-DEI. All this are efforts to suppress the truth because truth empowers people.
You're watching The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, are you looking for clarity on your believer's journey? Are you finding it difficult to really find your lane and stay in your place? Do you think that you have what it takes to build a sense of community even in these difficult times, knowing that God has got your back? Well, this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking about just those things.
I have the courage to walk through this tough season because they're going to come. You need the friends that have a belief system like yours.
A believer's journey this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie on Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
Violent white supremacy is, quote, the most persistent and lethal threat in the homeland.
The greatest terrorist threat to the homeland is the homegrown violence stream, including hate crime committed on behalf of some kind of white supremacist ideology.
They are coming after everything in Black America. MAGA and Donald Trump are specifically targeting Black America. They are going after the money. Attack Black Lives Matter. Attack critical race theory. Attack woke, DEI. MAGA wants to defund Black America. This is a perfect example of their desire to completely degrade and de-emphasize Black people.
I am Swing Cash, Basketball Hall of Famer, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hey guys, if you notice, Roland is having technical difficulties broadcasting from Bermuda. I want to thank our panelists today, Matt Manning and Wynn Cooney. Have a great weekend. Roland interviewed PGA golfer Chase Johnson at the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. Here's that interview.
All right, folks, here at the Butterfield Bermuda Championship, Chase Johnson, I just watched him on 18. You finished strong.
I did. I had a good finish, birdie finish. Wind got me a little bit early in the round, as it's going to hit everyone. So
this wind has been insane. So I played Tuesday when it was at 55 miles an hour.
Oh, okay. So this is like a cakewalk for you.
Oh, this dude, I was kind of like, Tuesday was crazy, but yeah. And this morning was pretty rough too. So.
Yeah, it was pretty gusty this morning. So hopefully we can just carry that momentum into tomorrow.
A lot of folks who, like, I've been playing golf 38 years, and so a lot of guys, they always sit here, they see somebody who can play well at a club or whatever. I tell them, you have no idea what it's like, I said, between a person who's good there and on tour.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of subtle differences, but those subtle differences are the ones that make the biggest difference. So I had to get up and down a lot today. I mean, the score could have been a lot worse than it was, and I had some probably like 6 or 7 really nice up and downs, which you have to do on this course and in this wind. So you're never out of the hole.
There are a lot of we were chatting earlier, talking about all the different places you play. You talk about APGA, and it's a lot more opportunities being created for African American golfers, and then a lot of people who are also offering support for cats who want to go to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the APGA is the prime example for that, and all the other junior programs that are associated with the APGA. Like Underrated is with Steph Curry's tour. He's been doing a lot of good work. Cameron Champ's dad is heavily involved in a junior program that is frequently out at APGA tour events and stuff. So it's really good to see the opportunities grow. And then it's just up to fellas like me and anyone else who gets the chances to play in events like this to represent as well as we can. So again, those last two holes are good representation, so we just got to do more of them.
Absolutely. All right, then. Well, it's good to meet you. I appreciate it. And if folks want to follow you on Instagram, where they go?
Chase Johnson 96.
Okay.
Nice and easy.
All right, then. Well, I'll send a couple of folks your way.
Awesome.
I appreciate it. All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. See you around. Take care. All right. Be well.
Roland also interviewed the Honorable E. David Burt, the Premier of Bermuda. Here's that interview.
We're here at the Butterfield Bermuda Championship, and so he's actually the reason I'm here. So here's the deal. So my wife comes to me 3 weeks ago and said that she and her Link sisters, they were going to Nashville, Uncle Nearest Farm, or some other tours. She's like, well, we're going at the same time as your birthday, and you probably, I'm like, go. I said, I have no interest on going any of those tours. So then I was sitting here, and I've gotten 3 different golf trips in different tournaments. I was like, PR, Mexico, Costa Rica. And I went, wait a minute. Premier Bermuda told me that tournament is the same time as my birthday. So that's when I sent a text to your former chief of staff.
Yes.
I had your phone number wrong. And then so she hit me back. And so the Tourism Authority hit me up. And so we're here. I've been doing my show from here as well. It's been absolutely fantastic. And my understanding, y'all signed a 3-year deal for this to continue.
Oh, well, that would be news to me, Brother Martin. But
yeah, that's what I read. That's what I read.
What I would say is that it's a pleasure to have you here on the island. Certainly these matters are dealt with by the Minister of Tourism, but it's good to know I'm not a golf fan, but I know that you are. Not only is he a golf fan, if you are not aware, he also happens to support Texas A&M.
I'm a graduate, so is my brother and my sister. So three of us in the family. So we're number 3 in the country.
We'll point out every Aggie on the golf course today. He will tell you them all.
I got pictures with all 3 of them, absolutely. But first of all, look, you got a lot of people here.
Yes.
This also is important because you get visibility. Golf Channel's covering this here. Folks get to see Bermuda, tell the story. And so one of the things that I want to ask you about is really the focus of the Tourism Authority to attract folk to come here, because usually when people talk about, where I'm going to travel or whatever, they talk about Bahamas, they talk about Jamaica, anything like that. Just talk about what you're trying to create here in this country.
So thank you. Well, the reality is that Bermuda is not a mass tourism destination. So places like Bahamas, places like Jamaica and others, Dominican Republic, are mass tourism destinations. Lots of people, big resorts, all that. That is not what Bermuda is. Bermuda is different. We have smaller resorts, but the entire island is our resort. We're not a place where you have to go, you have to stay inside a resort, all the rest. You get to explore, you get to be a part of our wonderful culture and immerse yourself. And when it talks about, targeting specifically the black traveler, we are trying to make more of a focus on that as well. So whether or not those are direct air routes out of the United States or whether or not those are the cultural experiences that can be experienced on an island, such as also my favorite, which is our annual emancipation celebration, which is called Cup Match, which actually started because black folks said they were not going to work to commemorate their slavery day. Wow. They said the day that we got emancipation, we're not going to work. So it was not an official holiday for a number of years until the government of the day finally gave in. And I promise you, the government of the day did not look like you or I at that time. Finally gave in and declared a holiday. But black people said, we are not going to work. We are going to organize an event to commemorate the emancipation of slavery. And now is our biggest holiday of the year.
So when is that?
That is it is a very technical answer.
Because I was talking to somebody yesterday and they said
it is the last Thursday and Friday before the first Monday in August.
So they say it's really 4 days.
So the law says it is the last Thursday and Friday before the first Monday in August. It is basically the last weekend in July or the first weekend in August.
Got it.
But yeah, it's always around that time. But it's a cup match in Bermuda, the biggest celebration. We also have other celebrations.
I'm told it is crazy.
Oh, it is crazy. But we also have other celebrations because there's for the young and not so young. So we have our national heroes. So there's a story also about Mary Prince, who was instrumental in dismantling slavery inside of the British colonies, who wrote in a book, Mary Prince. And so she's one of our national heroes, in addition to many other persons who have historical significance for Bermuda. And near that weekend, we have our national hero celebration, but we also have Bermuda Carnival, which is an amazing event and celebration. And, I would say if you are someone who likes a little bit of fun, it is continuous revelry for 4 straight days, kind of like Cup Match. Cup Match is kind of 5. It's a 2-day holiday, but it goes on for 5 days.
Hidden meaning in there is like continuous revelry.
Continuous revelry. We revel at Carnival.
So what's interesting is, yesterday, there was a young woman, she was in media, and we were talking, I said, I got a question for you. I said, Bermuda is not in the Caribbean. She says, but it's Caribbean.
Correct.
Explain that.
We consider ourselves Caribbean.
And is that because, according to her, she said 65% of the people from here can trace them their St. Kitts.
St. Kitts, Turks and Caicos, Bahamas, all the islands. Because, it was part. I don't like to be a black person talking about slavery, but we have to recognize the knowledge of our history. And the fact of how we got over here is they took some boats from Africa. And so we became...
Some got dropped off here.
Correct.
Some got dropped off in America.
And then after slavery was abolished in the British colonies, there was still transfer of people and movements amongst the British colonies. So if there was labor, so for instance, in Turks and Caicos, the salt mines, and Bermuda's other things, and all dependent. So people would then come. If economy was more developed, Bermuda was always more fortunate to have a more developed economy, only because of its strategic position between the U.S. and Europe. So that is the reason why Bermuda and Hawaii were the 2 original tourism destinations. Because after World War II, we had airports, power, seaports, all the rest, and those then had to be converted into peacetime uses, and that is the reason why Hawaii became a major tourism destination, as did Bermuda be even a bigger tourism destination.
So... because you're not, how far are we from New York City? You're not far from
it depends.
East Coast.
Here's the reality. It will oftentimes take you longer to drive to JFK from Midtown than it will to take you to fly from JFK to Bermuda. Depending on the winds, 75 minutes.
Wow.
Depending on the winds. If the winds are going the wrong way, it might be 85 to 90.
So it really is interesting to me that Bermuda is so close. But to your point, I don't hear a lot of folks talking about, hey, I'm going to vacation in Bermuda.
Now here's the funny thing. Bermuda. You don't hear a lot of folks talking about it, but for instance, last year, throughout the entire high season, our hotels were full and people couldn't get rooms. So the reality is we're marketing to the persons. We are just not a mass tourism destination. But if you're looking for a unique destination, a place that is different, a place where you're not trapped inside of a resort, a place where you can explore, mix with the locals, have fun, have the beautiful scenery, go out, this is the place for you.
Also, the connection between Bermuda and African Americans. So many folks traveling to the United States, being educated there as well, and forming those relationships.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot went to HBCUs as well. Many. But here's the other thing as well. Right now, what is also interesting for Bermuda is that we now have a growing and burgeoning African population as well. We celebrate African Day as well. Lots of persons from East Africa, West Africa as well. And Bermuda, from a business perspective, also hosts, because we are known for our work in insurance, we also host insurance products that protect African crops from natural disasters. So there's a number of things in which we're doing with the diaspora.
Gotcha. Because while you were talking about being business, I spoke here, 2 speeches I gave here. And one was in 2009, it was like 11 or 12, and both were at business conferences.
Yep.
And we're talking about, again, the relationship with entities in the United States and here as well. What else would you would really want folks to know about this country that they may have no idea about?
Well, the first thing is that Bermuda is unique. There's no question about it. Unique. when people look at Bermuda, we are a temperate climate, so it is, we have seasons. We don't have snow, we don't have anything. It's a bit cooler in the winter.
They have wind.
Yes.
Wind.
We have wind.
Tuesday was 55 miles per hour playing golf. And Brian Minnis hit me, he said.
Hold a second, it was 55 miles an hour in New York, too. The same cold front that hit y'all came down and hit us.
I wasn't playing golf there.
Okay, I got you, see. Some people were.
Plus, it was 41 there.
And it was not 41 here. It was in the 70s here. It was 40s there.
Everybody hit me. He said, you're insane. I said, I would rather be outside playing golf in 55-mile-an-hour wind than sitting inside looking out a window.
Okay.
So but the next day it was a
perfect day.
It was
just a little bit of wind. It came from y'all, the United States.
Oh, so you blaming it?
Oh, it is 100%. 100% came from y'all. But so we are close. We are not. So it is a quick flight. You might want to think about a weekend. You might want to think about something that you're just saying, you know what? I want to surprise my wife. I want to surprise my man. I want to do this. I want to do that. It is a simple trip, especially if you are in Boston, New York, Philly, D.C., and Miami, and Atlanta, Miami.
Y'all looking to work with airlines to add more direct?
Our largest hotel is reopening next year, so there'll be even more flights that are coming back online next year and the year after, because those things are driven by hotel capacity. So we just opened as a Regis Hotel. The Lauren Hotel has opened. The Cambridge Beaches has been renovated, and now our Fairmont Southampton will reopen as well next year.
So when is what you call high season?
The high season is during the summer.
Okay.
So the high season in Bermuda is considered between April and October, I would say.
Got it.
April and October. The best times to come to Bermuda, where you have the best mix of value and others, is September, because, it's after people go back to school.
Right.
So if you don't want to be around kids and all the rest, if you come in September, you can take your you take your vacation there. You don't have to worry about kids. And, of course, the hotels aren't as full, so the rates are better, and then you'll have availability on flights. So September is like the sweet spot, because it's still hot. It's still good. You can still have fun. You can still do the golf. You can still go out on the water. There's still events that are happening. Next year, I would ask people to, check it, go to Bermuda.com, because the Minister of Tourism has a mandate from me to have a full schedule of events from April up until October. And whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that is your type of thing, it will be happening during our summer season next year.
April till October.
Yes.
And the best time to come
in September.
It's September, and the anniversary of Roland Martin Unfiltered and Black Star Network is September 4th.
Got you.
Okay. That's an idea.
But that should not discount Cup Match, Carnival, or our annual holiday Bermuda Day. And we also have this thing. You might be into sailing. I'm not so much into sailing.
No, I'm not.
I'm not so much into I'm going to get in trouble when people see this. But there is a sailing tournament here.
Water's for the fish. The land's for...
But hold on a second.
I'm a land-based...
Hold on a second. People go to F1 matches and never watch the cars or the things go around.
Oh, but I drive fast. No, I was staying on land and watch them sail. But yeah,
no. I'm not telling you to go in the water. I'm saying it's like this.
Yeah.
And so it's like an event. So we're doing that next year. It's come back next year. That's the beginning. That's the kickoff of the season, beginning of May. So as I said, go to Bermuda.com. I'll have the whole list.
While they're selling, I'm playing golf. I mean,
you can.
That's my priority.
There's a golf tournament around that time too.
My wife knows that's only priority. Last one. So the sister came on my page, and she had the audacity to say that Deltas run this island. And I said, darling, I said, listen, my wife one of y'all, but no, I said, this is Alpha land. That's my understanding.
Well, Alphas run the country. Soror, Delta Soror. I appreciate you.
I just let her know.
I just had to. First family. My apologies. Sorry.
That's how we do it. Premier, I appreciate it.
Brother Martin,
great to see you.
It's a pleasure to have you back.
I'm glad to be here.
Hope you enjoyed your time.
I enjoyed it, and look forward to next year, because this really has been a fabulous tournament, and it's been a ball.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it.
And have a good night.